This is your friend, Dr. Prince Allen. Still on the same page, the girl child. Today, we are going to read part of chapter 1 of the book as an encouragement to you, because I know a lot of you are good readers, but many people too are what I may call lazy readers. So I'm going to help you to start reading from chapter 1. Every once in a while, we will turn to a chapter and we will read it, until we open a book club and then have some competition in reading. So, chapter 1 of The Girl Child. It was the 24th of September 1975 at the homestead of Madame Jepu, popularly known as Nwanye Mission, a seasoned village midwife who had lived in the area for as long as anyone under 40-year-old could remember. My mother, Monica Wangu, popularly known as Mama Chizoba, recounts how she longed to deliver at the legendary Mother of Christ Hospital, or at least at the cheaper Colliery Hospital. My father, Agunwangu Alum, did not even listen. He would always remind her of how her mother gave birth to her on the farm all by herself and walked home with the baby, not even leaving behind the firewood she went to fetch. Women of these days, he mocked. You all want to be like the Oyibo people when we have seasoned hands in the village who will do the same job and you could settle with a couple of hundreds of naira instead of the outrageous sums demanded by these unholy maternities. Since my father did not have a car, he pushed my mother to go ahead of time to the home of Nwanye Mission, where they both waited until labor intensified. The famous midwife was busy preparing the room, changing the bed sheets, boiling water, and applying some of her massaging instruments in anticipation of delivery. When the decisive moment came, and my mother's dilation reached the 4 fingers width, which, according to the seasoned midwife, indicates the end of first stage of labor, Papa, according to Mama, silently moved to the corridor and kept pacing up and down the long aisle of the Face Me, I Face You backyard compound of the Aneke family. A baby's cry dominated the atmosphere when the prolonged mourning subsided. Then came the announcement of the midwife. It is a baby girl. Papa rushed back into the room with excitement, as if the spell that had prevented him from fathering a baby girl had been broken, and he finally became eligible to have an in-law, as the Igbos say, Ogo Buchionye. A good in-law is like a god. It was his fourth child and his first daughter. He dreaded assisting in the birthing process, the horrible cry of pain by the expectant mother, and the harsh voice of the midwife who kept telling her, push, push, and put more energy into pushing before I give you a dirty slap on your bum bum, unraveled him so much that he preferred standing outside or hanging out in the corridor. Only in my secondary school days did I start inquiring who the Nwanye Mission was. It was only much later that I discovered that the woman was from Nnewi and her real name was Mrs. Njepu. I also learned that the husband was related to a famous transporter named Ekene Delichukwu. My aunt, who gave me these details, told me that the small boy living with her as a houseboy was the son of the famous transporter. I remember the little boy as Ikuka Olase, while the other boy who ran her local drugstore was called Linus. She also made me understand that Mrs. Njepu was not a village midwife, but a qualified matron at the University of Nigerian Teaching Hospital, Enugu. but did her private practice at home using some extra rented rooms behind the house of Elder Nathaniel Aneke, a renowned catechist of St. Mary's Anglican Church in Gwo. She also owned a famous drugstore at the Ekane market. My father was a peasant subsistence farmer who later learned carpentry and masonry. He sometimes worked with his brother, who was also a carpenter. Both lived from hand to mouth, and other extended family members still looked up to them for many assistances. According to my mother, the state of their economy did not deter my father from throwing a party for the naming ceremony, which, in her opinion, was an extravagant ceremony compared to what they did when my elder brother was born. Papa, she said, claimed that his ancestors had answered his fervent prayers by blessing him with a baby girl, and now that she had arrived, he had no excuse not to express his gratitude by inviting his clan members to come and be a witness to the goodness of his God in his life. My mother will repeatedly tell the story to anyone who cared to listen. It was a grand occasion, she would say. My parents arrived at the occasion with a young she-goat as capital investment for my newborn baby. Tradition demands they raise the kid goats in my stead. And when the goat bore kids, they will share it at 50-50 ratio with them. Other family members and relatives who came to the occasion came with the expectations of eating and drinking to their satisfaction, and they were not disappointed. The occasion started with the traditional breaking of kola nuts, during which they offered prayers to the gods and rendered gratitude to my father's personal chief, who, according to him, was uniquely responsible for the birth of a baby girl at this point. After my father's prayer, my uncle, Japhet Akwegbuonwalum, a Christian, raised a song of praise in thanksgiving unto the Lord for all the protections he offered to the entire family during the recently concluded Civil War. He reminded God that though the Civil War officially ended 5 years ago, the soldiers were still marauding everywhere, occupying Enokuneye and Udume lands. These lands were previously residents of peaceful white men who had lived for many years with us. After the prayers, the breaking of the kola nuts, they passed it around with garden egg and osoji, a mixture of roasted pepper, spices, and groundnut paste. They also ensured everyone had a cup of fresh palm wine before asking my father to name the child. I was curious to know what name he wanted to give you because he wasn't the type to discuss anything with anybody. Because of these attitudes, I called him Eze Onyagwanam, a non-listening king. We also anxiously waited for him to pronounce it, but he appeared unprepared. As our tradition demands, he cleared his throat to attract attention before speaking, and all eyes focused on him. He extended his hands towards me and handed the baby over to him before he started his speech. As is our tradition, he cleared his throat to attract attention before speaking, and all eyes focused on him. He extended his hand towards me, and I handed the baby over to him before he started his speech. It has pleased my personal chi to answer my prayer, and they roll me among the men who will await a good son-in-law to whom I will bestow my daughter and expand my relationship among our people. For this, I gave him a name that will reflect my gratitude. He paused. We shall name him Chizoba in recognition of God's protection upon all of us during the just concluded Civil War. Again, We shall call her Onyinye, a God-given gift. He paused again, as if he wanted to add something to his speech. As you all know, I do not lack respect for our ancestors, the great descendants of the alum Akakaka Uzum Adeoku. Yet, since I have given my other children my name as their surname, she too will be among the new lineage of Ago Mangwalum. He then returned you to your uncle, who pronounced your name in full to the hearing of everybody, Chizaba Onyinye Ngu, and added Nenna, your traditional name, in memory of our late mother. That marked the end of the naming process, and we started the ceremony, a second part, by serving delicious abacha bowls, cassava flakes prepared with fresh stockfish, crayfish, palm oil, and potash limestone. In the meantime, the egusi and the bitter leaf soups were in the making. At the same time, women peeled giant tubers of yam, which my husband carefully selected from his yam barn in readiness for the main meal of pounded yam with various soups. Your father will often boast that his clan, the Umwede people, are known for using yam tubers to beat the metal gong, Umwede Ojiji Egbuogene. I had opted to make groundnut soup, which was popular, but your father wanted to show off by ordering us to make egusi soup instead. The effect of the just concluded civil war were still visible in every sphere of life. People were more concerned with having 2 square meals than repairing the havoc on their homes caused by the reckless bombardment of the invading Nigerian soldiers. Farming activities has resumed, but the occupation army often went into people's farm to harvest crops without impunity. I will stop so far for today. I remain your friend, Dr. Prince Alum. We expect to come back soon to read more and to continue exciting you with the story of Chizaba. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends.